we're going to talk about some very simple video editing tools today. And we're going to use the DJI Fly app, which has a built-in editor. So if you have an Air unit or a Vista, you probably have a DJI account. And of course, if you have any kind of Mavic drones or any other DJI, almost any other DJI products, even if you just got like a phone gimbal, like an Osmo or something, you probably have a DJI account. If not, it's free. You sign up like anything else. I don't know if you need to have a DJI account to use the photo editor. That'd be something you'd have to investigate. It was one of the first ones I started to play with. It's not great, but it doesn't totally suck. And if you don't have anything else and all you have is a phone, you can get away with making some video edits and adding some music, adding some text, adding some transitions and different things just with this editor. Even some speed ramping and things like that. And I'm going to do my best to keep it as simple as possible. As simple as possible. Because video editing and creating even simple videos when you're new to this is probably just as hard as learning how to use Betaflight or, figuring out what the hell is a UART. So let's get started. You'll start from your main screen. You're going to open up your DJI Fly app. Mine was already opened, right? You're going to go into Album. And I have nothing in there, so I'm going to hit Create. And it's going to give me this annoying screen here. I'm going to go to Pro. And at the top, I'm going to hit DJI Fly. Top in the middle, hit DJI Fly. And recents. I have a recent clip here. A friend of mine is thinking about buying a drone. He's an empty nester, and he's doing some traveling, and he really just wanted a simple, under 250G drone. And so I brought my Mavic Mini in, and we just did a little test flight down by the river and just showing him some things. And in the process, I had like a 5-minute clip. So I'm going to click on this clip. This is what we call a video clip. Each video you have, see, I have another one down here and another one down here, Crocodile Baby. This one there's a GoPro in it. And these are each clips right now. So this is going to come in as a 5-minute clip. It has to transcode it. So this takes a little while. Okay, so now it is transcoded. You see the number 1 on the top left video. That would be my first clip. If I wanted to add more, they would have a 2 and a 3. So I'm just going to hit on the top right side where it says add 1. Now, I have to switch my phone over into like a portrait mode. So, what we have here is the video. And the way it comes into this editor is it's really scrunched down, and there's your whole 5-minute video there highlighted in yellow toward the bottom of the screen. You can see it. I'm going to move it back and forth here. Now what you want to do is take both thumbs and press them on that track and then spread it out. You don't have to spread it all the way, but what we want to do is as you swipe your thumb, you kind of want to make it look like it's playing. Maybe that's not enough, but you want to be able to see detail that you can eliminate from your video. In other words, if you're just sitting there yawing around looking for your next point of interest, you don't want that in your video. In drone videos, you always want to be moving. So here we have a clip of this bucket loader. They're dredging the river, and then they're loading it into here, and then they pump it and move it, and they just are constantly moving dirt around. So right about there, I think we'd want to cut it. Now at the bottom left down here, not the total bottom, but just below the actual highlighted yellow track, you see cut. And I'm going to cut it right there. Now the first clip It's still there. They're both still there, actually. If I move this over, now it highlights, that's my first clip. My second clip's still there too, but I don't want to film all this just water. Camera's pointing down at the water, whatever, that's not interesting. Now we get to this point. Now this thing looks like it's dumping some of that sand and water that they just dredged out into this barge, and they're gonna move it somewhere. So that might be interesting for somebody to look at. So I'm going to get back to that point. And then again, I'm going to hit the scissors. And then if I rub my finger on the track a little bit, we'll go back a little bit. That's the clip I just isolated with 2 cuts with the scissors. Now I'm going to delete that. So now I have 2 clips. I have 1 short clip and I have 1 long clip. But instead of seeing all that water and everything that was boring, we're gonna go from this clip straight to this clip. And you see, if you want to, now most of the professionals don't use too many transitions. A lot of the newer guys use way too many transitions, and they get fancy with the transitions. Don't get fancy with the transitions unless you really know what you're doing. But if you want to use a transition, right between these 2 clips, there's that square with a dot in it. You see it? You just tap on that, and that's going to give you some transition options. And I would just recommend on this editor the dissolve transition. It kind of gives you a preview right there what's going to happen. And then the check mark in the bottom right, you click on that. So now your video is going to look like this. It's going to go from this scene. We're watching the bucket loader scoop up dirt and sand, and then we're going to go to this scene. See? Which doesn't look bad. So we've seen enough of this. We're traveling towards the riverbank, and I've seen enough. So again, scissors down here below the highlighted yellow track. I'm going to clip it right there because I don't want to see any more of this. And now I'm going to go to this here, and I'm going to find the next maybe little bit of an interesting spot. Let's say I find that interesting. So I'm going to clip that there. And that means everything in between is isolated in a clip. I don't really want to watch all this because it'd make for a long video. I know, I'm a bit of a hoarder on video footage, but really you got to kind of just get a knack for saying, no, that needs to go because that's not interesting. So delete that out, and now we're going to go from this scene where we were looking at this, and now we're going to go straight to above the trees, right? And again, we can change the transition now to dissolve if we want, and then it'll be like a little bit of a less harsh transition. And then it just kind of goes into the next one. And you just keep doing that, flying over the trees. Okay, well, here's a prelude to what's coming up next. I'm going to clip that, then I'm going to go all the way down there now. I'm going to skip everything in between because you can't make a 10-minute video. Nobody wants to watch it. Of you just slowly floating. I'm in cinematic mode, I believe, on this drone. And it only flies like 12 miles an hour. It's pretty slow. And when you're high up in the air, things look even slower. I'm going to get rid of all that. And then you can just tap on that track. It'll highlight the track you don't want. And again, right here on right below the track, you see this list of icons. On the far right, you hit delete. So now we go there. We don't have a transition, and I'm not going to keep doing that because at the end I'm going to hit a transition and I'm going to go transition all of them, just dissolve. It's the safest one. You don't want to get into all that. All right, now I'll show you something else here. So we're going around that tugboat and all that stuff. And then right here, I'm going to clip it, but I'm not going to clip it out. I'm going to speed it up. You got to be careful with these speed ramps, especially at 1080p on this editor and other cheap editors or free editors like this with your speed ramping. So I'm going to go down to this next place, but I want to only increase the speed when I'm going pretty straight. Because if you start increasing the speed when you're not going straight, it starts to look really digital. So we can speed this up a little bit. Let's clip that out, and then we're going to tap that clip that we just isolated. I'm going to hit speed. I'm going to go to 125. So that's quite a bit, actually. And over here, I'm going to hit check mark on the far right. Not apply to all, but just this clip. Okay, so you can watch. We're going to go from this clip. There'll be really no transition. You won't see much of a transition. But you'll see it speed up. Probably. I wasn't being real smooth on the sticks here. I was just showing my buddy. So now it's just going to speed up. And it's sped up to, you know, it went up 25% of what it was. So our video is already, if you look above the track, I'll hit stop. Over to the right of the play icon, it says 224. We're at 224 of a total of 322. Now it was 5 minutes, but I've already clipped some out. So if I kept the video the way it is, it'd be 322. But I don't want to keep the video the way it is. So we're pretty much past that point, and I don't really want to watch all this. I would say about right here as I'm getting a pretty good view of the city across the river. So I'll skip all this boring stuff in between there. And then we'll just go straight over to the other side of the river. There's no zooming or keyframing on this editor, and then it pretty much stops right there because I was showing him some things. He was flying it at this point. And I said, if you see any trees coming up on you, and you know, when you're looking at your phone and you're new at this, those trees actually look a lot closer than they do in this video. So he stopped it, which is fine. And we're just gonna, that's why we have film editors. As soon as it stops, because we don't want any stop action too much in our drone videos. Now that last clip is highlighted, I'm going to hit delete. And then as an end card, because I just want this whole video to fade into black when it ends, I'm just going to see, if you go down here to the very bottom, just above where the X and the check mark is, below the pictures of your options, you hit black. And then you hit the check mark. So now your video goes from you're looking at the city and it just goes black. Well, we don't really want that. So now I'm going to hit any one of these transitions I can hit. Tap that, I hit dissolve, and I'm going to hit apply to all. Now every transition in the video is going to be dissolve. And see how that just kind of fades into the blackness rather than just cut off. Okay, so now let's go back to a spot in the video where maybe our footage looks a little blown out. I think I saw a spot right here. This boat looks a little blown out. So I tap on that clip, and at the very bottom, I'm going to go to this filter button. And we have all these options. I'm going to choose movie. And then I have these MO1 through MO7. MO1, that's what you get. You can change the intensity of it. Now that makes it a little less blown out. That looks blown out. That looks a little less blown out. So these are just filters. These are kind of like preset color grades for you. Now if you want to go a little further into that, you could hit this color over here, and then you could change maybe the saturation, get a little more color. You could change the temperature, make it look like a little bit of a warmer day. You could put some vignette in it. See the vignette coming in from the corners? You can change the contrast. And you can change the brightness. I could blow it out completely or darken it up. Just depends where your camera was set. My camera was just set on automatic, and I had an ND8 filter, and I had the EV set at 0 stops. I would say the Mavic Mini, if you're a beginner and you're looking for under 250, don't waste your money on, get the Mini SE for $299. He said he saw one at Costco for $250. There's a lot to consume when you first get your very first drone, and this is one of them. Just making a video that you can add some color to. So anyway, that's what we're gonna do there, and we'll check out, see how that worked as far as my little bit of a color grade I did there. Now, if I wanted to reverse this clip, I could do that too. I highlight the clip, I hit reverse. Takes a few seconds usually to reverse. But once you reverse it, you can reverse it back and forth and back and forth. And then we can look at that and we can go, I think it looked fine the way it was. So I'm just reversing that clip. And now when I fly through, that clip will actually be in reverse, which looks weird because you got to be careful with reverse because the what do you call that? The wake from the boat is going in towards the boat now. And you also got to be careful when you do reverse. Make sure there's no cars or anything really moving backwards that would look obvious, especially not something like a boat wake where the wake is going back towards the boat. So no, we don't want to reverse that clip. We want to reverse it back. Reverse. Now see now it reverses instantly. Now we're back where we wanted to be. So now the next thing, now remember this was all one 5-minute clip. Now we're at 2 minutes and 46 seconds. And we got rid of a lot of the kind of the boring stuff. Even though this whole video is really kind of boring. But this is just something I had on the phone I could use to make this video, and I'm going to share this with my friend so that he has something, because he has never edited a video in his life, and a lot of people have not, and so they just put up their raw footage straight out of their drone or their camera up on YouTube, and there's no audio, there's no anything, and you see all of their bad moves and all of their shaky fingers and all of their mistakes, I call them. They're not being smooth on the sticks or whatever, and you want to clip those out. Actually, if you take a Mavic Mini and you get 25 minutes of flight time out of it, you can just keep flying that thing around and pointing and clicking at things. And I recommend on a Mavic that you hit record often and turn it off often. That way you don't get one 25-minute clip, because sometimes your phones just won't handle that kind of data. So you get a bunch of little clips, and then you can watch them, and then you can pick which ones you want to put in your video. So hit record often. The other thing you could do in the beginning of the video is you could add a little something like that. And then this is how that would look. Your video would start. It's showtime, folks. But I don't know. I don't particularly like that. Maybe I could turn that down so we don't have to hear that. Yeah, that's all right. Yeah. Turn that down so we don't have to hear that. Then I'd like to put a transition in there. See if they just added a transition. Yep. So even though you can't see the transition, that's probably because there it is. I had to spread it out a little. If you got your video condensed too far, you won't see the little icon for the transition. So anyway, now we are in the state of Missouri. This is the Missouri River. Let's say we want to add a little text. Just kind of let people know where we're at or what's going on, whatever it might be. So let's just say I want to add Missouri. Now I can just type in Missouri. Oops. Missouri. And I can also move this thing around. And you can turn it. I'm just dragging my finger on it. And then I can move the whole thing down here in the corner. And then I can hit just check mark. Done. So anytime you do these things, then you want to go back to edit. Now in edit, that Missouri label that I just put in there, it's only going to last, I don't know, 3 or 4 seconds, right? Let's say I want that whole first clip to have that Missouri in there. I'm going to move my what they call, your timeline, the head, they call it. What do they call that? The print head or whatever. I'm not a video editor. I do know how to operate some of them, and I'm by far an expert. But you want to move that line over that. Then just hit the text button again, and then you can tap on that little clip, Missouri, and spread it out. Just drag it out. And then you don't have to do anything but go back to edit. Edit's always going to put you back in your view mode. So now, instead of just a few seconds of Missouri, we have a whole bunch of Missouri time. And then the last thing you want to do is add some music. Now I have a 2-minute and 48-second video. So I want to find some music that's pretty close to that. So what I do is I go down here and I hit this music note at the very bottom, at the second icon from the left. Tap on that. And then I see this thing that says up here, or the title item, tap to add music. So I want to tap to add music, and then I want to pick one of these songs they have that is somewhere around Carefree. Here's one called Camping. It's 2 minutes and 53 seconds. That's pretty close. Kind of dumb song, but whatever. And then over to the right, you see the note, and it has a plus sign on it. All the way to the right of the camping. Tap on that. That adds it to your video. So you got to go back to edit. Remember, edit is kind of your view thing. Now at the bottom, just below the highlighted yellow track, you see that kind of dark grayish line. Now we're going to play this music. So that turned out perfect, because the song, even though it's technically 253 seconds, there's a little bit of a couple seconds here to play with. So this song is going to work out perfectly. And if it didn't, you can tap on the song and you can trim it and cut it, and you can do everything below that you saw here. You can change the the length of it. You can change the volume. You can even do this, where this is going to give you an opportunity to you hit play, and then let's say you were just following the beat, right? Okay, so now you go back to edit, and if you look at the music track now, below my yellow highlighted track, then you see the music track. Then underneath the music track, you see these little dots. Those are the dots I just put in there. Then it's kind of laid out for you. When you go back to edit, and you want to, you're editing your video clips, and you're trying to edit them to the music. Right there at that little dot, see the very bottom, below the music track, there's a little hash mark. And then, let's say there was another change of a music right there, then that's where you clip your videos. So that's just another little trick that this app provides that most of them don't. Most of them you got to sit and listen to it and try to get it just right. And then, so we're going to call this video made. We can kind of watch it. I'm going to say this video is done, and I'm ready to share it with my friends. So I'm going to render it. I'm going to render it at 1080p. Done. Whoops. 1080p. And that's going to save this video to my photo album on the iPhone. Takes a few minutes, depending on how long your video is. I mean, it takes usually almost as long as your video. So if you have a 3-minute video, depends on your phone, it might take 3 minutes to render this out, which is not too bad. These things you can't get in a hurry, and you have to be patient. If you had, I normally use a program called LumaFusion on my phone or my iPad, and it's much better. It's more complicated, but once you get to know it, it's much better. But I recommend starting out with something like this. After you render the video, it gives you an option to save it to Facebook or some of these other ones. I think you can click these. We're not going to do anything with that. The one you just rendered is right here. And then I can get out of this and go to my photo album where it saved it. And it's right there. That should be it. And this is the video that I just made. There we go. So, this video took me a little while to make, as I made it kind of a tutorial, but, the video editing end of this hobby is probably as much of a learning curve as anything else, but it's very important for you to enjoy the hobby, that you learn how to make at least some simple video edits so that you can share your stuff with your friends and family. If you have any questions or comments, or you want to know what other editors I've used, I can tell you, and that's gonna do it for this one. It's getting too long. Happy flying, stay upright.